Hello, you're watching TVP World Talks. I'm Gotowski. Amidst the delicate political maneuvering around the potential Ukraine peace deal, Russia once again shows it will not play ball. This time, Vladimir Putin slammed the idea of Western peacekeepers, suggesting that foreign troops could become legitimate targets. Is Moscow deliberately raising the stakes and floating unrealistic ideas before the real talks begin? Or is this a sign that without further pressure, peace remains just as elusive as it ever was? Joining us now is Gotowski, lecturer in international relations at the Civitas University. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
It's great to be back and thanks for having me.
So how serious are these threats, do you think?
Well, we got to remember that these threats we've heard many times over the years from Russia. Starting back from the threats about SWIFT, banning Russia from the national payment system, that Russia would consider that a declaration of war. Finland and Sweden joining NATO, same thing.
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened. Legitimate targets, Abraham tanks, fighter jets, red lines. We can't cross that or there will be a swift reaction from Russia. Nothing. So in all candor, to be honest with you, I don't buy it anymore. That being said, as you said in your introduction, Russia's stalling for the peace talks. It's not serious about anything right now.
So is it actually using the same tactic, basically refusing to accept any sort of terms that are being offered, on the, to raise the stakes so that later on during the process some sort of deal could be hammered out and the more extreme demands would basically gradually vanish from sight?
That's exactly right. And Estonian foreign minister, she talked about that many times before. Kaja Kallas, now actually in the European Union, the foreign minister. She said that Russia always raises the stakes to the extreme and then backs down a little bit slightly, but that people gave in. But still Russia tries to get as much as possible, which just seems unrealistic completely from the beginning. That's exactly what Russia's trying to do. Right now they're saying they want to be the one guaranteeing security in Ukraine. They're going to be the ones trying to.
We've seen this before, haven't we?
In the Budapest Memorandum,
exactly.
Right? And we all seen how that turned out.
So when looking at the situation also, do you think that this is a pressure tactic on countries which are still hesitating? Because we know that the coalition of the willing, well, not all countries are actually unified when it comes to what to do. Some say we're going to send troops. Others say there is no way we're going to do that. We're going to be operating in a different capacity. Do you think this is a message to those which are still thinking about perhaps doing that maybe you shouldn't?
That's possibly what's going to happen. But the thing is that Europe actually is stepping up. I agree with you that there's some countries actually still not really realizing what they want to do. Some are saying they're going to send troops. Some saying they're going to focus on naval operations, helping with the Navy. Some with logistics. Russia making these direct threats, maybe it's a psychological tactic. But like I said, I think less and less countries are actually taking those threats really seriously as much as they did in the past. But we'll have to see, because you're absolutely right. So far, there's a handful of countries that are saying directly, we'll send troops. The others are still saying, like Germany, for example, we're not 100% sure what exactly, right?
Do you think that Poland should send troops in some capacity, for example, for demining? So far, the government has been adamant they are not going to do that. Do you think that this might change when more and more countries, including the Baltic states, say some small contingents could actually join this multinational force? Well, if it ever happens in the first place, because we still don't have any sort of ceasefire deal, right?
It's a great question. And I think that actually Poland's put in a little bit of a pickle right now, because they openly were saying that we don't want to send troops. We have problems with the border of Belarus. This is not in our interest right now to send troops because it would be seen as a provocation towards Russia. But you're absolutely correct. Even if the Baltic states are saying that they're going to be potentially send some troops, Poland might be completely sidelined. This would be horrible for Poland because, first of all the weapons over the years, lots of them were coming through Poland, right? Financial aid, helping the refugees. Now Poland got a little bit already sidelined one time in that meeting in Washington, which was, I think, a shock to many. Finland, Italy were invited. Poland, the frontline state, critical, right? Sideline. If Poland actually won't get involved with sending troops, which I think is a likely scenario, again, Poland will be further, maybe not isolated, but sidelined from this crucial developments that are taking place right on the border of Poland.
So do you think that a symbolic contingent would actually work towards basically including Poland in this decision-making group, right? Because once again, our partners would have a stake in approaching us because we would have a proverbial dog in the fight, even if there wouldn't be an actual fight, but basically trying to prevent one, right?
I think so. I think that if Poland symbolically sends some peacekeeping troops, again, assuming that everything reaches to that level, it's an assumption right now. But if that were to take place, and a lot of other countries, including the Baltic states, more and more countries say they will, and Poland doesn't, will be sidelined. So I think it would be in the interest of Poland to do that. But politically right now in Poland, it doesn't seem very likely, to be honest with you, right now.
It's a tricky question, isn't it?
It is. And we have to bear in mind that what started kind of on the fringes in Poland, kind of more of this kind of kind of Ukrainian sentiment, started becoming a little bit more mainstream. And we're even seeing signs that, I think the poll came out a couple of days ago, the majority of polls are against Ukraine joining NATO even. So Poland's actually involvement vis-a-vis Ukraine is kind of diminishing. I think you're right in making that assessment that Poland, if they would send some troops symbolically, they would have a bigger state in the outcome of the situation. And furthermore, which is really important, again, this is down the road, but what about even rebuilding Ukraine? Will Poland be sidelined from that if it actually stays outside of everything? That's another question.
Or contracts for the manufacture of weapons. I mean, Ukraine is offering many innovations to the market. The US is already saying they're going to participate in that. They're going to do this major deal for the manufacture of drones because they want to, get a bit of that experience, this know-how developed during the war. Do you think that Poland can actually afford to miss out on this?
It can't, but it might. And that's actually the scary thing right now, that I worry we're heading in that direction. That what something seemed almost impossible just a couple of years ago. Poland was seen as one of the key allies, is going to be absolutely involved in talks with Ukraine, peace talks, rebuilding Ukraine, et cetera, et cetera. And you're absolutely right. Even things like with drone manufacturing, Ukraine's got a very capable military, one of the largest, but one of the strongest actually in the world right now. And it learned a lot during the past few years. It would be the benefit for Poland to take part in all this. But increasingly, due to internal politics, Poland is getting more and more isolated in this situation, sidelines, and we'll have to wait and see, but I just don't really see it changing right now. If anything, I see we're heading in the wrong direction in this. And like you said, Baltic states involved. Italy and Finland involved in peace talks, potential peace talks when they were in Washington. Where's Poland in all this?
We did have a conversation between Polish President Karol Nawrocki and Donald Trump, so it was a very high-level meeting, on the other hand. Wasn't directly related to Ukraine from what we know, but again, it puts Poland firmly on the map of the eastern flank, doesn't it?
I hope so. But again, if we're not invited to that key meeting in Washington, if we're saying that we're not going to be sending in peacekeeping troops to Ukraine, that meeting, maybe you're absolutely right. Maybe the main topic was Ukraine, and Poland is an next-door neighbor, played an important role throughout. Hopefully Poland will be brought in. Hopefully Poland won't be sidelined. But I'm a little bit skeptical, to be honest with you. I'm not very optimistic right now regarding this.
Do you think there is a massive rift when it comes to defense and security, and also the stance towards Ukraine between the Polish government and the president? They may differ quite substantially in many matters.
Yeah.
In this case, do you think that this gap is insurmountable, essentially?
Well, as far as the security aspect, I think they do see more or less eye to eye, right? I think Nawrocki did say that the goal is, of course, Ukraine to be a sovereign, independent state, to get Russia far away. He mentioned that. I think they do see eye to eye on that. But this also raises some concerns too. Nawrocki mentioned a good few times that he wouldn't want Ukraine in the European Union. He softened his tone a little bit over the past, but that's not a good signal, even for security reasons too. We have even Slovakia openly saying that they'll help Ukraine get with the European Union. Even Hungary, talks between the Washington and the Hungarian administration quietly were talking about that. And Nawrocki was still openly saying that even regarding the European Union, he wouldn't want that. He's toning it down a little bit. But these are concerns, I think. This is very concerning what's taking place. So yes, on paper, maybe it looks like that as far as the security aspect between the government and the president vis-a-vis Ukraine, they see more or less eye to eye. More or less, not fully, but they do recognize the main threat is Russia. And Nawrocki did say that during his meeting actually with Trump. He did point out Russia. But I think they are more further apart than most people even realize.
So there are still challenges related to cooperation, but now we have been talking for a while about the potential ceasefire and the monitoring thereof. How far away are we from a ceasefire, though, in your view?
Very far. I think we're back to square one right now. I think that Russia shows no sign that they're actually willing to have even peace talks, really, real peace talks, let alone a ceasefire, let alone real peace. So I think we're back to square one. I think this war is going to drag on for a long time. Yes, there's been a lot of movement over the past few months to get both sides together, but Russia says it's not interested in a trilateral meeting, as President Trump proposed. Putin recently mocked, suggesting a meeting in a different country, saying he recommends that Zelensky comes to Moscow and he'll be secure, even though the Russians attempted to assassinate Zelensky on multiple occasions. So I think, coming back to your question, we are very far.
So what are the most substantial pressure points that one can actually use against Russia at this stage? Is it diplomacy? Is it the economy? Is it its vulnerability to long-range strikes on refineries?
All the above, but I'd say that the economy is a big one right now. According to the Russian government, Russia's sliding into a recession. We see that the economic performance has been declining over the past months quite noticeably, and the Russian government's been open about it too. Those strikes, on the Ukrainian strikes on those oil refineries, are causing not even a headache, a problem. Much more so than last year, because now Ukraine has been able to actually hit back at them. So they hit one time on those refineries. By the time Russia tries to fix it, again and again, and we're seeing the increase of the prices at the pump and huge queues to gas stations. So I think the economy is a big factor, and those long-range strikes from Ukraine to put more psychological pressure. But the economic aspects is key. Remember, Russia's economy is smaller than Italy's. If the West was really serious, they could crush Russia's economy.
Is it trying to do so seriously, though? We've had reports a couple of months ago that the European Union has actually paid more for Russian natural resources than it did provide to Ukraine by way of aid during a specific period, which off the top of my head, I cannot say what period it was, definitely a part of the wartime period, right? We also have the struggle against countries which are still buying Russian oil outside of Europe. Do you think this is going to be effective? Would it require a total change of mind, a total change of mindset?
I think it is happening, albeit slowly, but what you talked about is shocking, right? That still, after all these years, the money keeps flowing into Russia through, maybe indirectly through Europe, because through third-party sources you mentioned.
And also the shadow fleet.
And the shadow fleet too, exactly. So Europe needs to get more serious about this. They've gone a long way. We have to say that over the past few years, this has changed, and it's in the right direction. Still not quite there yet. We're getting there, but you're absolutely right that if you look at it as far as the numbers, that Russia's still making quite a lot of money indirectly through Europe, buying oil, those shadow fleets. This needs to stop now. And Donald Trump actually has been talking about this, right? Quite firmly. So we will see, but right now I think also there's going to be more and more pressure on Hungary and Slovakia to stop buying completely oil from Russia. We'll see if that comes to fruition. Only time will tell.
So we have about 1 minute left. Do you think this 2027 or 2031 date for potential Russian attack, because this has been actually mentioned by members of, the NATO leadership, so it's serious stuff. Do you think this calculus might change once we realize that there is really this fundamental vulnerability, that if Russia actually tries to attack a NATO country, well, all its refineries go up in smoke, because we do actually have weapons which are more precise, more high-tech than Ukraine does, and Ukraine is doing very well with what it has already. Absolutely. So I think that those analyses and statements that Russia could potentially attack in a few years, I think it's not accurate. I think it's not true because, first of all, as President Zelensky mentioned in his meeting in Washington, Russia took 1% of Ukraine in 1,000 days with a cost of over 1 million casualties. So I don't think Russia's prepared. You never know. You never know. They've done some crazy things. But if I was going to bet on it, I would say absolutely not. Russia doesn't have the economy, and their military has been severely damaged thanks to Ukraine, right? So I wouldn't really take that fully seriously. But Russia's been capable to pull off many things in the past. So we should actually pay close attention to that. Chris Gotowski was our guest today here on TVP World. Thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your insight.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And I'm Nash Lewiński. You're watching TVP World. Please stay with us for more latest news, updates and commentary.